Something feels off. You can't always explain it, but it's there, like life's gone flat, like everything's been stripped of meaning. You look around and wonder, when did everything start feeling so empty? You try to care, you try to believe, but the second you do, something in you holds back. It feels forced, awkward, like pretending to be serious in a room full of people cracking jokes. You light a candle, read the quote, do the thing that's supposed to help, but it doesn't land. It's not that you're lazy or negative, it's that you can tell when something's hollow. And most of what's out there, it's hollow. Spirituality is everywhere now, but depth is rare. We've got endless tools for healing, manifesting, and raising our vibration. But somehow, people still feel more disconnected than ever. Because here's the thing nobody says out loud. We didn't just stop believing in religion. We stopped knowing how to believe in anything. There was a time when people built their entire lives around something sacred. Not because they were naive, not because they didn't have options, but because they understood something we've forgotten. Without a sense of the sacred, the human mind starts to starve. Back then, rituals weren't routines. They were grounding. Stories weren't entertainment. They held meaning that ran deep. Symbols weren't decorations. They pointed to things words couldn't explain. People lived with mystery, with reverence, not because they had all the answers, but because they were okay not having them. Then came the Enlightenment. Science, reason, and yeah, it changed the game. It exposed lies, it gave us medicine, electricity, knowledge, it gave us freedom, and that mattered. But we didn't stop at progress, we pushed past it into demolition, we tore it all down. Religion, tradition, anything that smelled too serious. We said, we're past that now. But what we really meant was, we're too proud to need it. And once the sacred was gone, we tried to fill the hole. We replaced myths with memes, rituals with routines, spiritual depth with aesthetic vibes. Some of it looks beautiful, some of it even helps for a moment. But you can feel the difference. You know when something is real and when it's just pretending to be. Now we've got pop spirituality that sells fast and leaves you empty. Affirmations with no roots, practices with no soul, belief that's all style, no substance, and beneath it all, a growing sense of spiritual hunger no one wants to talk about, because this isn't just about God, or church, or organized anything. This is about the part of you that still craves something to hold on to. Something real, something with weight, something you don't just use but serve. Sacredness isn't just about religion. It's about meaning. It's about the space between logic and emotion, where real depth lives. And when we lost that, we didn't just lose belief, we lost a part of ourselves. Because sacredness isn't just cultural, it's psychological. That's what Carl Jung saw coming, and that's where we're going next. So if sacredness isn't just about religion, what is it about? Carl Jung had a name for it, symbolic life. And without it, he said, the soul dries up. Not in some poetic way. He meant it literally, psychologically. The inner world starts to collapse. We stop dreaming, we stop feeling, we go numb. We don't know why we're anxious or lost. We just are. And nothing we try seems to fix it. See, most people think symbols are just logos or signs, but to Jung, a symbol was something much deeper. It's a feeling image. Something that connects the conscious mind to what's going on underneath. It's not just a picture, it's an experience, something that means more than it says. When you're living symbolically, life doesn't feel flat. You don't just think about your emotions, you feel them move through you. You don't just wake up and survive the day, you're part of something bigger. Even if you can't explain it, you sense it. Without that, you're cut off from the source. You go through the motions, you stay busy, you chase goals, but you feel empty in a way you can't name. And here's the wild part. Jung saw this coming a century ago. He watched society drift away from myth, ritual, and symbol. And he warned clearly that when people lose connection to those things, they don't become free. They become lost. Because the unconscious doesn't stop needing meaning just because you've stopped believing in it. It doesn't care if you're secular. It still needs stories. It still needs mystery. It still needs something sacred to organize your inner world. Take dreams, for example. Jung treated them like maps, clues from the unconscious trying to help you grow. But most of us treat dreams like noise. We wake up, shake them off, and dive back into the feed. Or take emotion. You don't just feel bad. That emotion is carrying something. It's pointing somewhere. It's not random, it's symbolic. But we treat it like a glitch. We medicate it, mute it, scroll past it. This is what happens when symbolic life fades. You stop seeing meaning in anything, and you start feeling numb toward everything. Because when symbols disappear, your inner world doesn't become neutral. It becomes chaotic. You can't orient yourself. You don't know what matters. You don't know what you believe in. You just drift. You fill the silence with distractions. You perform instead of feel. You imitate instead of create. And it all feels normal. Until it doesn't. Until you hit a wall. Until you burn out. Until you can't fake it anymore. Jung wasn't offering some neat solution. He wasn't saying, go back to church or believe in myths. He was saying this. You need to find a way to live symbolically again. In your own way. On your own terms. But it has to be real. Because when you lose touch with that symbolic layer of life, you lose touch with yourself. And no amount of success, therapy, content, or caffeine can fix that. What does help? Well, it starts with seeing the difference between real meaning and fake meaning. And that's where we're going next. Not everything that looks meaningful actually is. That's the trap a lot of people fall into. You start searching for something deeper, something real. But what you mostly find is packaging. Spiritual buzzwords, shiny rituals, Instagram-ready quotes. It feels like meaning on the surface, but it doesn't move anything inside. And at first it's hard to tell the difference. Because fake meaning looks like the real thing. It talks about growth. It uses the right words. It feels kind of comforting. But the comfort doesn't last. You don't feel stronger. You just feel distracted. It's like junk food for the soul. Sweet, addictive, but there's no weight to it. Real meaning is different. It's not always beautiful, it's not always fun. It doesn't flatter you, it confronts you. Real meaning doesn't tell you what you want to hear, it tells you what you need to face. That's the difference between a trend and a symbol. A trend gives you something to post. A symbol gives you something to live with. See, Jung didn't believe you could just invent meaning. You can't sit down, pick a symbol from a list and make it real. It has to emerge from the unconscious, from dreams, from deep emotional experiences. You don't choose it, it chooses you. You know it's real when it sticks, when it follows you, when it challenges you, when you feel it asking something of you, not just entertaining you. Think of the symbols that shape real change. A storm in a dream that feels like your whole life falling apart. A piece of music that makes you cry and you don't know why. A small, strange image that keeps showing up in your mind when you're at your lowest. That's symbolic life, waking up. And most people ignore it because it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't give quick answers. But that's the point. Fake meaning is fast and shallow. True meaning is slow. And it makes you work. That's why it matters. That's why it sticks. The culture gives you a million options to stay distracted, but none of them will help if they don't touch something real inside you. You don't need another technique. You need a symbol. Not to worship, but to live with, to wrestle with. And once you find that, something inside you shifts. The numbness fades. The noise quiets down. You start to feel like a human again. But to get there, you have to ask, what have I been calling meaning that's actually just decoration? And what's been trying to speak to me that I've been too distracted to hear? We thought leaving religion would set us free. And in some ways, it did. No more dogma, no more shame, no more pretending to believe in things that didn't make sense. But we didn't just reject religion. We rejected the entire idea of sacredness. And we told ourselves that was progress. Here's the problem. When you push something out the front door, it doesn't always leave. Sometimes it slips in through the back, twisted into something else. That's what Jung called the shadow. The parts of ourselves we deny, avoid, or repress, they don't disappear. They show up in disguise. And that's exactly what's happened with spirituality in the modern world. We didn't stop worshiping. We just stopped noticing what we worship. Now, instead of gods, we worship status, fame, image, tech, productivity. We follow algorithms like commandments. We give our attention to people we don't trust, chasing validation we don't believe in. We still have rituals. Scroll, click, perform, repeat. It's just that now, the rituals don't point to anything real. They keep us busy, but they don't feed the soul. This is the shadow of secularity. We traded in cathedrals for corporations, sacred texts for endless feeds, prophets for influencers. We still want to believe in something, but we're afraid to admit it. So we pretend we're fine being rational all the time. And meanwhile, we're secretly starving for wonder, for awe, for connection. But because we won't say that out loud, it leaks out sideways. It shows up in obsession, in burnout, in nihilism, in conspiracy theories, in cults, in that quiet feeling that nothing's real and everything's for sale. We don't believe in the divine, but we act like money can save us. We don't pray, but we'll check our phones 100 times a day, hoping for a sign. That's the shadow at work. Jung wasn't saying everyone needs to go back to church. He was saying we need to stop lying to ourselves. The need for meaning doesn't go away. The need for symbols doesn't die just because you've stopped calling them spiritual. You can run from belief. You can laugh at it. But your psyche still needs something bigger to organize around. And if you don't choose it consciously, it will choose you. That's how people end up giving their lives to things that don't deserve it. Not because they're weak, but because they're human. You weren't built to drift. You were built to anchor to something real. The question is, what's doing the anchoring right now? And is it helping you grow or slowly pulling you under? We throw the word sacred around a lot, but most people can't explain what it really means. It's not about religion. It's not about rules, robes, or rituals handed down from some ancient book. Sacred just means you treat it like it matters. Deeply. It's not for sale. It's not casual. It's not whatever. Sacred means this thing, whatever it is, isn't just useful or interesting. It's untouchable. It's not just about you. It stands outside of you. It demands respect. And that's something we've forgotten how to do. We're taught to optimize everything. Use everything. Hack everything. Even ourselves. But the sacred can't be hacked. It doesn't make sense on a spreadsheet. It's not efficient. It's not convenient. It's slow. It's quiet. It asks you to listen. It's not something you post. It's something you protect. For some people, sacredness shows up in nature. For others, it's music or art or silence. For some, it's family. For others, it's a set of values they'd die for. It doesn't have to be religious, but it has to be real. You know it's sacred when you feel like you're not the center of the universe anymore. Something else takes over. You feel small, but not in a bad way, in a grounding way, in a way that reminds you, this isn't all about me. And that's a relief, because ego is heavy. Carrying your whole life by yourself is exhausting. The sacred gives you somewhere to set that down. Jung believed that sacredness was essential to becoming whole. Not because it makes you feel good, but because it forces you to confront what you actually care about, what you'd protect, what you'd suffer for, what you'd build your life around. And if the answer is nothing, that's the real danger. Not pain, not struggle, emptiness. Because if nothing is sacred, then nothing matters. And if nothing matters, why are you here? This is why sacredness can't be faked. You can't try to care. You either do or you don't. And if you don't, the question becomes, when did that stop? When did you stop treating anything in your life like it was worth protecting? That's not judgment, that's a signal. Something in you wants to wake up, not to go backwards, not to join a religion, but to stop living like everything's replaceable. Because it's not. There are still things worth holding sacred, not because someone told you to, but because deep down, you know they are. And rediscovering that, that's where real change starts. So what do you do when nothing feels sacred anymore? You don't fake belief. You don't force yourself to care. You stop chasing surface-level meaning and start looking inward. That's where it begins. Jung called it individuation, not in the self-help sense, not becoming your best self. It's deeper than that. It's the process of becoming whole, of facing your full inner life, not just the parts you like. And here's the hard truth. Most people aren't disconnected because they're lazy. They're disconnected because they've spent years avoiding what's inside. It's not fun, it's not pretty, but it's the only way back to something real. So what does that actually look like? It starts with silence, not just turning off your phone, but actually listening to your thoughts, your emotions, your dreams, not trying to fix them, just noticing. You'd be surprised what surfaces when you stop running. Next, it's about attention, real attention, not skimming, not scrolling. What pulls at you? What keeps showing up? Is there a symbol, an image, a memory that won't leave you alone? That's not random. That's your unconscious trying to speak. Write it down, draw it, sit with it. Let it speak before you try to explain it away. Then there's ritual, not in a religious sense, just something small, repeated, meaningful. Lighting a candle before you think, walking at the same time every day, doing one thing slowly with presence. It's not about the act, it's about the intention. The point is to create a space that says, "This matters, I'm showing up for it." You don't need to believe in angels or gods to live symbolically. You just need to treat your own life like it's worth taking seriously. That means feeling things all the way through. That means looking at your shadow, not just your goals. That means staying with something even when it gets uncomfortable. Because that discomfort, that's the signal you're getting closer. This isn't a one-time fix, it's a slow rebuild. The world won't hand you depth. You have to make space for it. And yeah, it's easier to just keep scrolling, to keep chasing little hits of fake meaning. But none of that will ever give you what a single moment of honest stillness can. Your inner world is still there. It's just been buried under noise, speed, and fear. You don't need to go find it, you just need to stop avoiding it. And once you do, that feeling of emptiness starts to shift. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly. You begin to remember. There's more to life than what's visible, and more to you than what you've been living. Let's stop pretending this is about philosophy or psychology or spirituality. This is about you. Because whether you realize it or not, you already live like something is sacred. Everyone does. It's just not always conscious. Maybe it's your image, your status. Maybe it's control or comfort or being liked. Maybe it's work or productivity or winning every argument. Whatever it is, that's the thing you protect, the thing you serve, the thing you build your life around. And if you're not sure what that is, look at where your time goes. Look at what you defend. Look at what you panic about losing. That's your real religion, not the one you talk about, the one you live. See, the real question isn't, do you treat anything as sacred? The question is, are you treating the right things that way? Because when you place the sacred on the wrong altar, when you give your soul to things that can't hold it, it always ends the same way. Disappointment, exhaustion, collapse. And then you start thinking, maybe life is meaningless, maybe nothing matters. But deep down, that's not true. Because if nothing mattered, you wouldn't feel this ache. You wouldn't be listening to this. That ache is proof that something inside you still wants to live with depth, with honesty, with reverence. But here's the catch. The sacred doesn't just show up for you. You have to show up for it. You have to make space. You have to pay attention. You have to stop running from your own inner world and start listening to it. And that takes courage, because the sacred will ask you to let go of comfort, to slow down, to feel things you've avoided for years, to stop numbing out and start being real. Not performatively real, not vulnerable for content real, actually real. Quiet, honest, uncomfortable. That's where real growth begins. That's where the soul starts to breathe again. So here's the question you don't get to dodge anymore. What do you treat as sacred? Not what you say you value, what you actually protect, what you actually serve. And if the answer isn't clear, if it's nothing, that's your starting point, not your failure, your invitation. Because something sacred is still possible, something real, something deep, something that pulls you out of numbness and back into meaning. You just have to decide you're done with the shallow stuff, done with fake belief, done with pretending you don't care. You do care. That's why this hit. That's why you're still here. So don't scroll away and forget this. Sit with it. Let it bother you. And if it woke something up in you, protect that. Don't rush to fix it or label it or share it. Just let it be sacred for a moment. Because maybe that's all it takes to start changing everything. If this spoke to you, really spoke to you, subscribe, not for the algorithm, not for the numbers, but because you want more of this. And if you know someone who's quietly drowning in that same emptiness, send this to them. Let it start a conversation, not a debate, a return to meaning, to depth, to the sacred.